I want to tell you something I've never said out loud before. At 52 years old, I sat alone in the corner office I had spent my entire life trying to reach. Door closed, city view out the window, name on the door, vice president written on my business card.
And I started crying. Not because I was happy, not because I was proud, because I felt absolutely nothing. And somewhere deep down, I already knew I had traded the best years of my life for a feeling that never came. My name is William. I'm 77 years old, and what I'm about to tell you took me 5 decades of wrong turns, missed moments, and quiet regret to finally understand. So stay with me, because if you're between 20 and 60 right now, this conversation might be the most important one you have this year. There's a sentence that runs in the background of almost every human mind on the planet. Most people never notice it, but once you hear it, you'll recognize it immediately, because you've been saying it your whole life. I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll be happy when I pay off the house. I'll be happy when I lose the weight, when I find the right person, when the kids leave the house, when I retire, when people finally respect me for what I've built. I said some version of that sentence every single day for 50 years. 50 years. You know what's wild? I got almost everything on that list. The promotion, the house paid off, retirement, the respect, or at least people were polite to my face, which I suppose counts for something at my age. And here's what nobody warned me about. Every single time I got the thing, there was already another thing waiting. The finish line doesn't exist. I want you to really hear that. There is no moment when your brain finally says, "Okay, you did it. You can relax now. You've earned it." That moment doesn't come. Not from success, not from money, not from status, not from anything outside of you. I ran toward a finish line for 50 years that was never there to begin with. And I'm telling you this now because I desperately wish someone had grabbed me at 25 and said these exact words to my face. To understand why I ran so hard for so long, you have to understand where I came from. I grew up poor, not the kind of poor you see in movies, dramatic and picturesque, the quiet kind of poor. The kind where your shoes are a little too tight, but you don't say anything because you know there's no money for new ones. The kind where your father works himself half to death and still gets talked down to by men who have done half the work he has. I was about 10 years old the first time I really saw it. My father came home from the factory, hands cracked, back bent, face gray with exhaustion, and I watched how the neighbors looked at him, how certain people in town looked at him, like he was less than, like he was invisible. Something happened in me that day. A switch flipped. I looked at my father and I made a silent, furious promise to myself. That is not going to be me. I'm going to be somebody. I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to walk into a room and people are going to know my name and mean it with respect, not pity. That promise kept me going for decades. It got me through school when I was working nights. It got me through the early years of my career when I was the youngest guy in every room. It pushed me to stay late when everyone else went home. But here's what I didn't understand back then, standing in that kitchen watching my father. I wasn't building ambition. I was building armor. Every achievement was another layer of protection against that feeling, the feeling of being nothing, of being unseen, of being like my father, at the mercy of other people's opinions. I wasn't chasing success, I was running from shame. And those are two very different engines, because shame doesn't run out of fuel, it just keeps burning. By the time I was 52, I had done what I set out to do. Vice president, corner office on the 14th floor, window overlooking the whole city, my name on the door, not a placard you slide in and out, a proper engraved nameplate. I had a team of 40 people who called me sir without being told to. From the outside, I had arrived. But I want to tell you what it actually felt like on the inside, because nobody talks about this part. I remember a Tuesday afternoon, nothing special about it. I closed my office door, which I rarely did, sat down in my chair, looked out the window at the city moving below me, and the thought that came wasn't pride or satisfaction. The thought that came was, is this it? This is what I gave everything for? I had missed my son's entire Little League career. I mean that literally. I think I attended 4 games in 6 years. I was always traveling, always in a meeting, always too important to be there. I'd told myself I was doing it for him, for the family. But he didn't need the private school or the nice neighborhood. He needed his father in the bleachers eating a hot dog and embarrassing him by cheering too loud. I missed my daughter's high school play. I heard about it secondhand. She didn't even tell me directly. She just assumed I wouldn't come. Think about that. My own daughter assumed I wouldn't show up because history had taught her that. I was in that corner office thinking about all of this cathedral of achievement I had built around myself, and from the inside, it felt like a very expensive cage. It took me another 20 years to understand what went wrong, 20 years of slowly waking up. I'm a slow learner. Here's the insight that cracked me open when it finally came. I wasn't chasing money. I wasn't chasing the title or the office or the nameplate on the door. I was chasing a feeling. Specifically, I was chasing the feeling of being enough, of being worthy, of deserving to take up space on this planet, of mattering. And I believed, completely, desperately, unconsciously believed, that if I just achieved enough, earned enough, impressed enough people, I would finally feel it. That feeling of okayness would arrive, the hole would fill. But it doesn't work that way. You cannot earn your way to feeling worthy. The job title doesn't do it, the paycheck doesn't do it, the house, the car, the respect of strangers, none of it does it. Because worthiness isn't something that comes from outside of you. It's something you decide about yourself. It's an inside job, always has been. And here's the devastating part. I could have made that decision at 25. I could have looked at myself as a young man, broke, ambitious, frightened, and said, "You are already enough. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove it to anyone." I did that at 73. 48 years. 48 years of working 70-hour weeks, of missing dinners, of grinding myself into dust, all to get a feeling that I could have just chosen. That's not a small thing. That's most of a life. My wife's name is Carol. We've been married 51 years, and for most of those years, I nearly destroyed what we had. Not with cruelty, not with neglect in the way people usually picture it, but with a particular kind of blindness that I think is very common in men my generation.
I believed that love was something you demonstrated by providing. You give her a safe home, a good life, nice things. That's love. That's how I understood it. So I provided. God, I provided. We had a beautiful house. She never worried about bills. She had the car she wanted, the vacations she wanted, everything I could give her. And she was miserable. When I was 48, she sat me down, and I'll tell you, this woman has more grace and patience than I will ever deserve. She sat me down and she said very quietly, "William, I don't need the money. I never needed the money. I need you to look at me. I need you to hear what I'm saying. I need you to be in this room with me, actually in it, not somewhere else in your head." I remember being confused. I'm right here, I thought. I'm sitting right next to you. But I wasn't. Even when my body was home, my mind was at work, running through tomorrow's meetings, rehearsing conversations, solving problems that could have waited. I had never learned to be present. I had never even tried. We almost didn't make it through that year. And what's interesting is that nothing about my career had to change. I didn't have to quit my job or earn less money. I just had to arrive, to put down the invisible work in my head and actually be in the room, to look at my wife like she was the most interesting thing in front of me, because she was, if I'd had eyes to see it. There is a profound difference between providing for someone and being present with someone. I spent decades confusing the two. Don't make that mistake.
I'm 77 now. At this age, you have a front row seat to something that younger people can't quite see yet. What a life philosophy actually produces over time. I have friends in their 80s, and I want to tell you what I've observed, because it's one of the most clarifying things I've ever witnessed. There are people my age who are still miserable, still chasing, still comparing, still keeping score. I have a friend, 84 years old, who gets genuinely angry when he sees his neighbor's new car. 84, still looking over the fence, still measuring himself against other people, and he is completely, thoroughly unhappy. Every conversation with him is a list of grievances, what he doesn't have, what he deserved and didn't get, who wronged him, what went wrong. He has been like this his entire life, and he is going to be like this until the end of it, because nothing outside of him has ever been able to fix what's wrong on the inside. Then there's my friend Earl. Earl is 86. He lives in a small apartment, fixed income, knees that don't cooperate, health that requires some management. By every external measure, Earl has less than most people I know. Earl is the happiest person I have ever met in my life. Every single morning, Earl wakes up grateful. Not performed gratitude, real gratitude, like a man who has discovered something precious and can't stop marveling at it. He reads, he asks questions, he gets excited about things. He told me once, leaning back in his chair with this enormous, satisfied smile, "William, I spent 60 years trying to be somebody. Now I'm just trying to be here, and it is so much better." That's the whole thing right there. That one sentence contains everything. The difference between the miserable people and the peaceful ones isn't money, it isn't health, it isn't how their children turned out, or whether their marriages survived, or how their careers went. It's whether they made peace with themselves, whether they stopped performing and just started being.
People talk about freedom like it's a number in a bank account, like there's some threshold you cross and then you're free. I'm going to tell you what it actually feels like from the other side of it. Real freedom is when someone says something cruel to you and it doesn't ruin your day. Not because you didn't hear it, but because you don't need their approval to feel okay about yourself. Real freedom is walking into a room and not scanning it for threats, not silently calculating whether people like you, respect you, think you're impressive enough. Real freedom is looking in the mirror at 77 years old, at a face that has all the evidence of everything life put you through, and being able to say, yeah, that's me, and I'm okay with that. Real freedom is not needing anything outside of you to be okay inside of you. And I'll warn you right now, this sounds simple. It sounds like something you'd put on a motivational poster, but it is the hardest work you will ever do. Because everything around you, advertising, social media, the way most workplaces are structured, the stories we tell about success, all of it points you in exactly the opposite direction. All of it says you're not enough yet. Keep going, earn more, achieve more, look better, be more impressive. And you have to be able to hear all of that, understand what it's doing, and choose differently anyway. That's not passive. That's not giving up. That is the most active, courageous decision a person can make.
There's one more thing I have to tell you, because I think it's the most misunderstood part of all of this. When I was chasing success, I told myself I'd relax once I got there. Once the debt was paid, once the career was established, once I'd proven what I needed to prove, then the anxiety would lift. Then I'd feel safe. I paid off my house at 58. You know what happened the next day? I started worrying about retirement savings, about health care costs, about what the market might do, about whether we'd saved enough for the years when we might need help. The fear didn't go anywhere. It just found new furniture to rearrange. And that was the moment I finally understood something crucial. The fear doesn't leave when your circumstances change. The fear leaves when you change. When you decide, really decide, not just say the words, that you are okay right now, in this moment, regardless of what tomorrow brings. When you stop treating your own peace of mind as a reward you have to earn and start treating it as a condition you choose to live in. That is something no achievement can do for you. No salary, no relationship, no external validation. It is purely, entirely an inside job. So here's what I want you to walk away with. Stop waiting. That phrase, "I'll be happy when," is the most expensive lie most people will ever believe. I paid for it with 50 years of postponed living and memories I'll never get back. Whatever you think you need to finally be okay, you don't need it. You need to decide that you're already okay, right now, today, with everything exactly as it is and everything still unresolved and uncertain and imperfect. You are already enough. You do not have to earn that. You do not have to prove it to anyone. Not to me, not to your family, not to the version of yourself that stood in a kitchen at 10 years old and made a furious promise. You just have to accept it. I'm 77. I've made more mistakes than I can count. I've chased the wrong things. I've been absent when I should have been present. I've looked for inside answers in outside places for most of my adult life. But I know one thing with more certainty than anything else I've ever known. Everything you're searching for is already inside you. It always was.
You just have to stop running long enough to feel it.
If this hits somewhere real, share it with someone who's grinding themselves hollow, chasing something that won't fill the hole. And tell me in the comments, what's your "I'll be happy when"? What would change if you just decided today was enough? I read every comment, every one.